Alright guys, so good afternoon. Of course today I'm doing a political analysis here in good faith, of course, for our fallen hero, and everybody of course have seen the sermon happening today before the proceeding tomorrow and the burial on Sunday. So of course currently there are a lot of information coming out on in fact doubting that Raila Odinga died on 15th. Others are saying he died a week earlier. And why is this? It's because the information that actually began to come on from the X account was indicating that he had died a week earlier, Lee funeral, but it's all a mixture. I don't know what to say. But the reasons why people believe this is as a result of the questions that came from opposition. And maybe let's check on what was cooking in air, and we might make a judgment. I always sometimes share information and let you say what you have to say. Now, Winnie, of course, came out to say that the father died in her hands. He was very strong, and during the moments he died, he pushed 5 walks or rounds. Now, I find the reason why people are opposing this, or rather giving different information, is the silence was just too much. Because when someone is sick, of course, people expect they have some information, not like the case of the CIA governor when he was actually, whether he was unwell or not, I'm not so sure. When the silence is there, people fill the gaps and people read in between the lines. And of course, one of the reasons why people think that maybe Raila Odinga died earlier is as a result of some questions that were raised by Kalonzo Musyoka, and at the same time on a flag that was being actually raised half mast. There's also other questions surrounding that is automatically when somebody is sick in Africa, we have close friends visiting, dropping gifts, so that when they pass on, people don't say we didn't see you. All right. The other aspect is prophecy that came out earlier and more information. So of course I'm borrowing some of this information from David Wafula, and I'll be playing some of them at the same time, coming back to the funeral tribute, so that we see what you think you believe in. Now let's look at the first situation here. So one of the situation, of course, you remember Musiria weeks earlier came to visit Raila Odinga, and they actually, he had a lot of gifts for him. If you missed it, maybe let's check using this data here. You realize this is the moment. So when we look at that, and we come back to this prophecy, you know, the prophecies, I don't know what happened. Hey, agribusiness, we know. Save me from it. Okay.
Watu wa hiyo taifa watawaficha, na siku ile matangazo yatatoka kwamba alikufa. Watu wa hiyo wanatakiwa kujua hakukufa siku hiyo, alikufa zamani. Ni kwamba wao na madaktari wakubaliana na ile hali. Aeleze ni nani ameua, afanye gani. Alafu inaruka.
So what I suspect is that...
All right. So if you have checked on David Wafula, of course, you can go check on him if you met on it. He actually was trying to do an analysis, and I was also using that plus other information to actually check on some details that are coming out. And of course, you saw also from Maverick. Maverick came up with an information like one day earlier, and before that we had been seeing on X Twitter information about Lee Funeral Home. And I was like, are people just trying to predict, or are they really aware about the specific time when Raila Odinga actually died, you know? And Sifuna has come up with some information. Let's just also check on this.
It was supposed to be the day Raila Odinga finally turned home, cheerful, rested, and victorious over illness. But instead, it became the day Kenya lost one of its greatest sons. Hours before his planned flight back to Nairobi, Raila Odinga suddenly sat down during his morning walk in India and never got back up. According to his younger sister Ruth Odinga, Raila's final day began like any other. The family had woken up at a serene Ayurvedic resort in Kerala, India, where Raila Odinga had been recuperating after medical checkups. Ruth Odinga, who had accompanied him alongside his youngest daughter, Winnie Odinga, recalls that the former Prime Minister was in high spirits. He had just finished his morning walk, a routine he kept faithfully, and was looking forward to flying back to Kenya the very next day. Then, without warning, Raila Odinga mentioned feeling slightly tired. He did not collapse. Ruth Odinga emphasized he just said he was feeling a little tired and sat down. We thought it was just fatigue. Within minutes, his condition worsened. Family members called for help, and an ambulance rushed him to Devamatha Hospital in Kerala. Despite immediate CPR and emergency intervention, doctors pronounced...
All right, so when you look at the different information anyway, I don't know why even we are really going deep into understanding when exactly, because the reality is when you look at the people who went with him to India, including the sister and the daughter, they indicate that social media has been lying about him. So let's check on Winnie. And I really loved the tribute from Winnie. Winnie actually stood out in how she gave her tribute over the father. And this is something that maybe it reminds us as parents, while we are teachers or policemen or something else somewhere, maybe we need to be better parents. Let's just listen to this.
To fellow mourners and all protocols observed, I don't know who I'll miss more, my dad or my superhero. I've been the luckiest girl in the world because you are my dad. Only 3 other human beings were as lucky as me: Fidel, Rosie, and Junior.
Oh God.
Dad, you are light, steady, unyielding, and deeply human. To the world, you are known by many names. When you were growing up, they used to call you Aluo. And then when you started work, they started calling you Jaramogi's son. And at some point, they started to call you Tinga.
No, not the funeral service, the first one in Nairobi. So they'll bring back in on Sunday.
They started to call you Agwambo. Briefly there, they called you Nyundo. They called you Jacom. They called you Baba Fidel. But in the end, they called you Baba.
that challenge the four of us in a good way sometimes. When I learned that you willed to be buried in 72 hours, I laughed. Good old dad, testing and planning for all of us, even beyond the grave. I can see you now laughing in your heaving manner. I can see you laughing at all of us. Knowing him, the love for country is not just in words, but in sacrifice. The justice must be pursued even when the path is lonely. The true leadership is service and not power. Millions of you are in despair, but take heart, because he left a plan for you, and we shall rise together in his honor. I watched him at his best. I watched him fall and rise again, each time with grace, forgiveness, and hope. Down the bay, the mountain top, where the sun shines in on a mountain top, I took a trip on a sailing ship, and when I reached India, I made a stop.
And he reached to India and made a stop, a rail stop.
Dad loved his grandchildren, Safi, Fidel's son Alai, Junior's son Lion, Sanai, and Jaramogi. Grounded, for me to teach you how to dream boldly and to always stand firm for what is right. Today, as we celebrate his life, I choose to remember not only the leader the world knew, but the father I loved with every fiber of my being. He took his last breath. He died. I was with him in India when he took his last breath. He died in my arms. But he did not die like people have been saying on social media. Every day he was waking up and walking. And every day he would do 1 round. The next day he'd push 2 rounds. That morning he pushed to 5 rounds. He died strong and walked strong and proud. He left as a gentleman. As a family, we want to thank all of you. To Lamu, from Isiolo, Mandera, to the shores of Lake Victoria. Asanteni sana. The king is dead.
All right, so when you look at Winnie's information, of course, and compare that to what people have been holding onto, I don't know, it's upon you to make a decision and think of what is your thought. On the other end, we saw Raila Jr. also giving a tribute towards the father, and it was a powerful tribute. He appreciated how the father actually encouraged him to be strong and taught him to be a man and actually enhanced him. And when you look at the fact that regardless of the challenges Junior had, he grew up to be who he is, you realize that there was some important upbringing here.
Excellencies, distinguished guests, fellow Kenyans, since I learned of my dad's demise, I have organized over how to best mourn him. My father was many things to me, to many people, but to my siblings and I, he was simply Dad. Dad embodied resilience, courage, and unwavering commitment to the ideals of freedom and justice. He always stood for what he believed was right, sometimes at great family cost, and personal cost as well. He was my hero. And his legacy lives. Erokamano. The refrain is Asante
All right.
Baba.
So of course his tribute was different, together with appreciation, and we also had Ida giving her tribute, which was informative for not just the family, but I think also to the country. And she also was trying to impact some learning points for families, because currently we have a lot of challenges on families that maybe we can borrow from people like Ida. So Ida came out to share the aspect that communication, truthfulness, directly confronting matters, and the aspect of actually forgiveness is essential, and that is what kept her in her marriage. She also talked about the aspect of sacrificing for the nation, just like the daughter and the son said. So let's check on her before we can get to other politicians.
All distinguished ladies and gentlemen, and watu wetu wa Kenya kwa jumla, hamjambo. Today is a very unique day. It is not every day that I'll be standing here to say something to the nation and to the world about my dear husband, Raila Amolo Odinga. Like that. But there are names that are given. I cannot forget the name that the public has given me, called Min Pain. I've also gotten the name of Peace Ambassador. And for that reason, even before I say something else, I'd like to say something about peace. One thing that I know that Raila stood for, and he keep on repeating, is that we need peace in our nation. And peace will not survive in a situation, in a chaotic situation. For that reason, I appeal, today I appeal, let us mourn Raila in peace. I know you are all concerned, mourning, you are sad about this, but let's keep peace so that the peace can prevail, not only here in the stadium, but also in the rest of the country.
So, of course, that was one of the most important sentiments that was passed by Ida because of the yesterday's kind of stampede and the confusion that was created at Kasarani, to a level that some people had to actually even pass on during the yesterday's moment when the police had to shoot and use tear gas, and people ran up and down, thousands of them. No wonder today they had to actually change the state. Hata we are kule now. Unanipigia. All right, so it happens that the sentiment that have been passed or shared rather in the tribute by Ida were very essential, because they're actually focusing on what is happening currently. And remember yesterday what happened, all right? So failure to have mentioned this maybe would have impacted negatively, but it's good that at least we see her saying this. And of course, the mourners now should be peaceful, because if the family is peaceful and they are seeking peace, then it's rightful that if people are honoring the late Raila Odinga, they should do that in peace. And no wonder maybe the place was changed from Kasarani to Nyayo Stadium, where people would not easily invade. And of course, listening to her, it justifies that. Remember, Winnie Odinga said that the father, at least, having died at 80, and also strongly. And the fact that before he died, he had believed he would come back to the country and continue with his journey, but he had a plan for the nation, and what had happened, of course, is already in the pipeline. I don't think there is any death that comes when we expect. Most moments, even when people are sick, we expect that they'll be resuscitating and coming home safely. Whether they are in homes, we also expect that if they are going to be well. If it's a situation of an accident, we always hope that they'll be treated and be safe. So most death moments don't come when expected. And of course, death is a mystery. No one can accept it. But then, how do we mourn? When we mourn through fights, chaos, and all that. Yeah, all the time when he was fighting, of course, battles, there could be moments of, tear gases, and that should not be the way, Currently, as Aida shared here, and even Winnie, it is good that the legacy remains solid and loyal or royal, if we can say. So let's listen more to Aida before we come to other politicians.
Coming to talk about my dear husband, Raila Odinga. I first met Raila way back in the early 70s, and we got married in 1973. For that reason, I've lived with this man for 52 years. Many of the people that I see or who are in this stadium could have easily be our children. No wonder you call him Baba. That name did not come from nowhere, but came from the experience and the life that he has lived with and relationship that he has had with some of these people. During our union, we were blessed by 4 children, and therefore he named his first child Fidel Castro Odinga. Later, we had the second child, Rosemary, and here again, Rose is the name of my mother, and Mary is the name of his mother. We combined the 2 names together, and we called the child Rosemary. It also has a meaning to us. When it came to the third one, and he named after his best friend and his cousin called Raila Kembo, with whom they shared the name. So we ended up with Raila Oginga Odinga. Last, there was a big gap, and I'll explain to you. Last came the 4th child. The 4th child, when I went to the hospital, and those mothers, you end up somewhere in labor ward. And I was watching the television. And on the television, that's the time when Nelson Mandela had come out of prison. It was he's been there for 27 years. Raila also had been in prison, but that's not why we named her Winnie. And I was watching the television, I could see Nelson Mandela and Winnie Mandela holding hands as Mandela walked out of the gates of the prison. By then, I didn't know what kind of child I was going to get. But then I said, if it's a boy, we'll name him Wilson Mandela. But if it's a girl, will be Winnie Mandela. And therefore, Winnie Mandela arrived. And that's the fourth child. I see when you look at this naming of the children, I know these days you can name your child anything that you want, but I'll appeal to those who are still having babies. Give your child a meaningful name, because you name them people you never saw, you never heard of, simply because.
Oh, so Winnie came out to share something about naming of children. Of course, in an African culture, those ancient times, people used to name children based on things, maybe seasons, maybe family, maybe people with legacy, and heroes. However, currently people are naming children maybe based on the films they watch, and maybe names of people they just see in videos and all that. So she reminded people of the African legacy and went ahead to actually explain how she named her children. Away from that, there was something else she had to mention about family. Maybe we can look at that before we get to something else.
There's nothing wrong with giving our children the names of the people who in our lives we think are the heroes. Our life was not smooth life. Just like any other family, there's been ups and downs. But as we continue living together, we've learned how to cope, because we all have weaknesses and strengths. We learned to talk straight to one another. We learned to speak the truth, and we learned to forgive and move on. Now that forgiving spirit was not only in the home, but is something that has spread to the Kenyan. You've seen how many times he has tried in the elections, but that forgiveness is a paramount. So please don't cut grudge. We are all Kenyans. We are all Kenyans. We are sisters and brothers. We must learn to forgive easily and build together Kenya. Towards the end, I'll not say everything. I would like to say everything, but
yeah, so of course she promised to say more on Sunday, but you can see whatever she's preaching, the art of family, the aspect of African culture, especially in naming, the aspect of forgiveness, sacrifice, and all that was coming out strongly in her speech, just like Winnie, the daughter, also spoke about that. Maybe let's look for Rosemary's speech, and then we can get to something else. But before that, there is there is something else I wanted to share here. Yeah, there is something else I wanted to share. Let me just check on this, because actually looking at that, because I was looking at the falling of Raila Odinga and what lessons are we going to learn from the family. And we've learned a lot. Actually, when you look at the family itself, that is why I focused on the family and what it had to say, given that other people had been giving rumors and a lot of questions surrounding when did he die. But for me, I think it was not important when he actually died, because whether he died long ago or recently, what matters more is what are we going to learn? What are we going to learn from his fall? Now, President Ruto also gave a speech, and that was after Kindiki. So let's check on what he said, given that he signed some laws recently. and see what he will be saying here.
And opportunities of their time with indomitable vigor, with absolute conviction, and with unwavering valor. The Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, Ward Mary, Ward Nyar Alego, Agwambo, Tinga, Jacom, Enigma, Ward Being, Baba, the man in whose honor we gather here today belongs to that rare, irrepressible breed of human beings. My dear brother Raila Amolo Odinga, as we bid you farewell, we do so with the deepest gratitude as a nation and as a people. We grieve your loss. We celebrate your 80 years of presence and also salute you for the great statesman and patriot that you were. To Mama Ida and your children, Rosemary, Raila Jr., and Winnie, as well as the larger Odinga family, led by our elder brother, Senator Dr. Oburu Odinga, please accept the nation's most heartfelt condolences on this immense loss. Kenya stands with you in this moment of sorrow. We share in your inexpressible grief, but we also share in your pride for your husband, your father, your brother, and your kin, who belong not only to you, but also to us. Thank you for this solemn moment to speak with Baba. When I stood by him with the other Pentagon members at a defining moment in his and our nation's history, I neither knew that one day we would find ourselves on opposite sides, nor could I have imagined that years later he would stand by me, this time to steady the nation and to help anchor my leadership, culminating in the birth of the broad-based government. To you, Baba, I owe you, and I am truly and eternally grateful that our paths crossed and that we shared this journey together. We have been both collaborators and competitors, friends and rivals, but always patriotic Kenyans, united by a dream greater than ourselves, a dream bigger than any partisan divide, a dream of a united motherland called Kenya. As I have reflected on Raila's legacy following his passing, I have entertained no doubt in my mind that history will judge him fairly and kindly, because whenever the nation needed him to rise above self, he always did unreservedly. Whenever Kenya...
All right, so you can see the president of Kenya actually speaking in a manner that he is actually bringing out the legacy of Raila Odinga regardless. And how I just wish he also learned some lessons, just like I'm really absorbing lessons from Raila's life, regardless of some challenges here and there. There are a lot of lessons you can actually grab from Raila's life and from the tributes which are being offered from people who he has competed with and who have been running the race together. Of course, when you look at the people who are supporting him, Martha Karua, Sifuna, and Babu, I'm going to just get some speech out of them and also compare that to the rest of the people. I don't know why we wouldn't have actually the opposition also speaking here. I'm not so sure, but let us see.
Needed reason, he became the voice of reason courageously. A reconciler, He proved that progress demands both courage and patience, that we must be stubborn on the vision, but agile on the details, adjusting our means, our plans, and our strategies, but never compromising our mission. The gentleman we are bidding farewell today gave more to this country than most will ever.
More. He really gave a lot. He really gave a lot. Nobody can give what he gave, actually. Nobody can give what he gave. In fact, even former President Uhuru Kenyatta also spoke. And in what he said, he was just grateful about, about the Raila. However, the Gen Zs, I don't know why they were throwing insults and regret. I'm not so sure about it. We'll be checking on that later. So let's check on Uhuru Kenyatta, and I would wish to actually check on other monarchs, especially in his team, before we come and check on the Gen Z. All right?
Rafiki yangu, lakini mimi ninampenda kama ndugu yangu. Mheshimiwa Raila Amolo Odinga, vile tumeambiwa hapa, tulimjua kwa majina tofauti tofauti: Agwambo, Jacob, Tinga. Lakini kama Wakenya kutoka kona zote tulimjua na tukamheshimu kama baba. Ukienda kumtembelea kwake nyumbani, ulikuwa unawakuta huko marafiki kutoka kila kona ya taifa letu la Kenya. Raila alikupenda kwa sababu ya maono yako, alikupenda kwa sababu ya fikira zako, alikupenda kwa sababu ya vitendo yako, lakini sio kwa sababu ya rangi yako ama kabila lako. Wananchi kule mashinani wana uwezo ya kujiongoza na kujitawala na kuwa na viongozi ambao wanatekeleza shida za wananchi kule chini. Haiwezi iandikwe bila ya jina ya Raila Amolo Odinga kuwa nambari moja. In short, nasema vipi? Nasema hivi: Raila ametuacha kimwili, lakini ndani za roho yetu, ndani ya spirit ya Kenya, ataendelea kuishi miaka na miaka tukisonga mbele. Haki kwa sisi ambao tumebaki na wale ambao hawajazaliwa. Hivyo ndivyo ndugu yetu angependa kuona, na hiyo ndio njia ya kuona legacy yake kama kiongozi wa taifa letu.
So you agree with me that from all corners people are still saying that he has left a legacy that people should continuously support? But I don't know, for the Gen Zs, I don't know why they are insulting him and regretting. But before that, we have to focus on positives first, because actually moments of mourning, even culturally, people don't focus on negative, they focus on positive. So I'm trying to check on possibly his team, And of course, the brother spoke, Obura Odinga, but I'm looking for somebody. I'm just looking for somebody from his end. Let me see here. Maybe I'll be getting it later, but I'm just trying to check. I wanted to get something from Sifuna or Babu or somebody else. So let me check whether I'll find this. Just give me some few minutes. As I check on Obura Odinga, maybe I'll be checking also on some politician who spoke about this moment.
We were only 3 boys, and our mother was a disciplinarian more than our father. But my brother Raila knew how to cook. Our father's mother told us that you, my boys, you are also my girls. You must learn to fetch firewood. You must learn to cook. You must learn to prepare everything, including washing clothes and ironing and so on. Raila was best at all those things. The other thing Raila was best at was in class. Me, I was average. I could be number 5, number 4, number 3 sometimes if I did well. But Raila was always number 1. He was always number 1 in class. And I also want to tell you that Raila was a sportsman. He was a sportsman. He used to do what we were calling triple jump. He used to play football and he used to do pole vault. But I was better than him in jumping and in pole vault. I want to tell you that my brother loved justice from the beginning. He loved to hear news. And one day he was late in school, and when the teacher asked him what he was doing, he said he was still listening to the radio. He wanted to hear news. And he was only at standard 3, standard 4. So Raila was a no-nonsense man. He entertained no mediocrity. Raila did not want mediocrity to be filled. But I just want to try my best. I want to try my best. But now I would like to Judith Oburu. Judith Oburu here works with NSSF, and she is also an accountant by profession. So thank you very much, Your Excellencies. We have come here tomorrow.
Come to 17. In 2022, I'll cut you short a bit. I hand over to Lennox. There is much that is happening outside there.
Stolen elections and all of that. In fact, when I came in, I looked at Weta and I told Weta, do you remember where we went to this park in South Africa? Immediately after the results were announced in 2013 and affirmed by the Supreme Court, we were so down, and not just us, because we are down for the sake of our people. So our brother has taken final bow, but the struggle continues. This struggle continues. I'm so happy nobody here today called Raila Mganga. Mtu wa vitendawili. Although his daughter Winnie twisted it nicely to say there's that, an enigma. Nobody called him Amchawi because the bishop, his own bishop, spoke so well about who Raila was in the church, within the Anglican church. So we will continue this struggle. It's unfortunate because it's a state funeral. They should actually have recognized the official opposition to say something. That's what Raila Odinga would have wanted to do. But you can see even the way Kindiki announced the name that some of us around there with his usual small voice, nobody could hear, all right? But it's okay. It's okay. We must give Raila the most dignified, as Uhuru Kenyatta himself said, right? The struggle to get and to make sure this is a safe nation. The human rights of every Kenyan, the right to not to sleep hungry, not to go without medicine, not to get your things stolen. You remember I had to stand when the bishop talked about looting. I don't know whether the camera saw that. I really stood because that bishop spoke what is in the minds of Kenyan people.
All right, so
Kenya Kwanza have lost it completely.
of course, I asked, at some point I asked, why is it that the opposition, the current opposition, has not had a representation here? Because I did not understand. I expected to see maybe Gachagua here speaking, or maybe Kalonzo Musyoka, or somebody from the opposition, but I've not seen that yet. So that was my concern, actually. And I think Kalonzo Musyoka has aired it clearly, and they have said that they would have expected to be given room to speak. I hope on Sunday they'll be given room to speak, actually, instead of being swept under the carpet, because they really matter in the country. You know, a country is represented by the government of the day, the opposition, and all that. And therefore, we wouldn't be in a position where we are just expecting the government or the broad-based government alone having people to speak within the funeral while the opposition are swept under, the carpet. As he has said, Kindiki is the one who mentioned them by just as a by the way. Meanwhile, let's hear what the bishop said, the Anglican bishop, because as you've heard, all this while, people used to call some funny names to Raila Odinga, including names like Muganga, Mchawi, and all that, which were very bad names. Actually, names to give him a negative look or outlook, which is neither there nor there. So I'm just getting to look for the best shot of the bishop. Then I show it here. Then finally, I'll be dealing with maybe I've seen something here. There is something here. I don't like news from let me see. Yeah, I think this one is okay. It will share what was said by the bishop.
Question is today, which we are all asking, as we celebrate the life of Baba, is how do we apply the power to proclaim that God has given us for the good of the nation, for the good of all of us, for the good of humanity. Baba is one such politician that never used the power of money to intimidate people or to lure followers. Today we have very bad manners amongst most of our politicians. They have taught our people the culture of handouts, that wherever you are, you must give part with money, and woe unto those who drive big vehicles. They are in trouble. Whenever you are seen, you are only seen in terms of money. What can you be able to give?
Baba Raila Amolo Odinga never used the power of his wallet as a convincing tool to others, but he used the power of persuasion. He used the power of persuasion. He used the power of the word. Let's allow ourselves to be used of God, so that the power he has given us may be the power that is correcting, the power that is reconciling, the power that's rebuking what is evil and what is not evil. We as preachers, sometimes we are also tempted to fall into temptation of compromising the message that the Lord has given us, because sometimes we feel we must make some people happy. I want to tell you for free that God has called all of us only to proclaim His will, and once we proclaim that, we remain stronger than ever before. We become more charged to speak the truth than ever before. How many can fit in the shoes of Raila Amolo Odinga today? How many can fit in that shoes today as I speak? I am addressing you when I'm in the Spirit of God to proclaim that God wants us to do things right all the time, everywhere, so that Kenya could be free and all of us could be free to live in a united nation of our republic. That was the wisdom that God had given him. And I want to charge you in the name of God that from today, please, as we honor the right Honorable Raila Odinga, let's see ourselves as Kenya first, not from the point of view of our tribes, of our classes, of regions, where we come from. Kenya is too small to be subdivided into regions. When I had breakfast with the right hand, the left hand may not have to know what you have given. A person who knew how to work for his Lord. That is the person whose life we are celebrating today. See how you give. Sometimes you give by the who was at the heart of our diocese. Some people think that for you to be a good churchman, people must see how you give. Sometimes you give by the right hand, the left hand may not have to know what you have given. A person who knew how to work for his Lord. That is the person whose life we are celebrating today. And I want to say,
you look at that point, actually, he has placed a very key point, especially to most of us, maybe politicians especially. When they go to places, they must give money publicly. And why do they do this? Because they are soliciting for votes. But when you're just living a Christly way or a religious way, you don't have to give money and announce and make it on highlights. I've given 3 million to this church, 10 million to this church, so that it becomes a problem. You help where you can to your capacity without necessarily announcing. And I believe that even the current leaders, they should know. I don't even understand why they discuss what they have given in church what they have given in Harambes, what they have given maybe in funerals, what they have given in terms of bursaries. This should be something secret. Anyway, let's continue listening to the bishop as he finishes, then look for one leader from maybe ODM and see what they
Without
say.
contradiction, Your Excellency the President, what you have done, this service and this state honor, there's no one who would have deserved this other than the Right Honorable Raila Odinga.
For just $49, you
the
can create
advertisement
unlimited,
here,
hyper-realistic
it's not
live-action
part of
videos
what
like
our
these.
discussion is.
And when we are proclaiming the word, we should not be fearful. Word proclaimed must have the power to transform, must have the power to make us renewed in our strength for the liberation of our country from those who are looting everything from us, from country level to everywhere. If there is anyone here, I want us to make a testament. I want us to make a testament with the people of Kenya. If there is anyone here, at whatever level, be you a governor, be you an MCA, be you whoever it is who has looted this country, you know you stand a chance of victory. So when we are talking about a person of the stature of Raila Odinga, we are seeing in him those strains of justice which are yet to be won. We are seeing in him those strains of peace which are yet to be achieved. We are seeing in him the strains of reconciliation which we are yet to see. We are seeing in him the Kenyanhood being at the center of everything else. May God bless you all. May God lift you up as we bid farewell to Baba. In the name of God the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
All right. So of course, guys, you've heard all that, and depending on your interpretation, you may make your own interpretation out of that. But I've really learned a lot of lessons out of the different tributes that have actually come out of here. And maybe I just want to recall something about the fact that when he lived and he really fought, people reached a time and they really just didn't care anymore, until he seemed also to give up on us. But as we've seen, we have to know that we still have a role to play for a country to be better. There is no other way. Actually, there is no other way. So let me see. There is something I saw. Where did I see something here? I thought I saw something from Mother Karua, but I don't know. Let me just check. I don't know. If I can't find it, then I'll be ending on something else. But I think Professor David Kodia as the bishop of the church, has really given a message that a lot of Kenyans have to pay attention to that, even when voting leaders. Because sometimes we as voters also mess big time. What we do is we just go for leaders because they are bribed us. I wouldn't vote for anybody who is actually distributing money, because what I know, such leaders, when they go into leadership, they'll not do well. Why? They'll be believing that they bought their positions. I would rather somebody who just came to ask and they are genuinely serving the people. Those are the people who deserve to be elected. But people who come to the mainstream and they are distributing some coins, making people wake up in the early in the morning to go collect some money, those ones, I don't believe in them, because I've seen a tendency, let's say in Coast, I've seen in Kakamega, I've seen in Trans Nzoia, leaders who actually make people line up and collect money. When they go in office, they don't deliver. They don't. Because they already know that they bought the votes. That's what they take, according to them. Buying votes at 200 shillings. And I think citizens are messing big time. They need a lot of voter education so that they know that they are not actually giving someone votes based on what they received, but they are supposed to give somebody votes in relation to what they'll do. And they have to place this person on accountability, tell them that if you go and you don't serve us, we are going to get somebody else better, and put you out. But you find that in a constituency or of MCS, somebody serves for 3 terms, without and they have mastered the art. They know that when it reaches election time, simply go to village, market to market, border centers to border centers, and distribute some little coins, and people will vote you in. So it has become a tendency that is actually spoiling for us. No wonder people say that when you elect a monkey into an office, when it begins to make noise and holler and eat bananas, do you have a reason to complain? Tell me, do you have any reason to complain? So you find somebody has actually solicited a lot of funds from wherever it is, whether it is loans, whether it's from friends, and once they step into office, what they do is to pay themselves back. They pay themselves back because they did what they did, and they know they never qualified to get that position. All they did is to actually buy their way in. So when they buy it, they'll also mess big time. All right. And I don't want to spoil this video by actually adding the Gen Z reaction, but I just feel like it's necessary. I don't just understand, but I'm checking on some video that was here. I don't know. Let me skip something here.
Very interesting details are coming from India.
Today morning at 8:20 a.m. This is with the history of sudden collapse during his morning walk at Sri Tariyam, which is an Ayurvedic hospital close to our place. Then itself, they had started CPR, that is cardiorespiratory resuscitation, and he was moved with the CPR, active CPR. His doctor and security were with him, and we continued CPR and did emergency intubation, that is putting a tube in the respiratory system, trachea, and continued CPR along with other resuscitative measures. Initially, there was no pulse or BP recordable, even palpation-wise. So after doing intubation with continued CPR, we shifted the patient to our ICU with all the staff and the facilities. In ICU, after some time, we could get some rhythm. On the monitor, it showed ST elevation in the ECG leads, in the anterior leads, plus we could see regional wall motion abnormalities, that is reduced movement of one artery territory, that is LAD territory, there was hypokinesia. This means there is less movement in that area. So after stabilizing him with some IV fluid and all, we just gave him an injection, that is injection reticulates, for dissolving the clot if it is there in the coronary arteries. And we could see him with a significant edema of the right lower limb, right leg. When whatever information we got from the doctor was he was a diabetic, hypertensive, chronic kidney disease patient. He had right lower limb DVT, for which he was put on IVC filter. And recently he had a thin subdural hematoma. Last Saturday when it was done, that was almost very thin. And the neurosurgeon was the doctor who was with us in the ICU and who followed the patient from, accompanied the patient from Sritariyam. So after discussing with him, we went ahead with the thrombolysis with the injection reticulates. Even we continued CPR, that is from 8 o'clock in Sritariyam till 9:52 in our ICU. With all other ACLS criteria, we continued CPR. In spite of our very sincere, very continued CPR and other measures, we couldn't make him survive.
All right. So of course, the doctor here from India, Mumbai, was giving just information about the demise. And so this clears airs about having died a week earlier, possibly. You know, sometimes in Kenya, people look for nitty-gritty information, possibly because they don't just take news as it is. But if you look at all these things, someone from India will not be colluding with the government to lie, the daughter as well, and all that. I just don't believe so. And if the opposition knew, I wouldn't have seen, like, I'm trying to also check on Sifuna. But before that, let's look at the tribute from Mother Karua, though it was not during the funeral itself, before we finally finish with Sifuna.
Stop editing videos manually in 2025. Try Halo AI now. No skills needed, no budget.
Of July. I actually said it on media. When he said he had spoken to me, I said, yes, I'm the one who called him. And I called him on the same issue. You remember 25th of June, there had been shooting and killing in town. And then 7th, Sabasaba the same. So I picked a phone and I asked him, why are you supporting a government that is killing? Do you know without your support, they'll collapse even in parliament? And he did indicate his discomfort with that whole rights situation. And I told him I was not asking for discussion. I was just leaving it with him to ponder. So it's not as though we completely lost contact. It was not a day-to-day contact, but I still considered him my brother. Even when you differ on issues with your brother, you do not become enemies. Yeah, so.
Maybe Mheshimiwa, your highlights with Mheshimiwa Right Honorable.
Very fond memories of our campaign. He's a man with indefatigable energy. He could out-campaign any one of us, even younger people. And he had a very strict regime. Even when we are out there campaigning and spending nights in hotels, he will still do his workouts. He kept fit and he kept strong and energetic for the campaigns. It was a pleasure to campaign with him. If you go back to those tapes, you will see that we were all having a good time and we were working seamlessly.
Okay, so that is Mother Karua for you.
So when accepting it to be his running mate, I knew we...
That is Mother Karua for you. Remember, if Raila Odinga actually got the position of president, Mother Karua would have been the vice president. And so today, if it would have happened when Raila Odinga is a president currently as it is, then it would have ended that currently now that is Honorable Mother Karua would become the president of the country, you know, based on the fact that a running mate would be automatically the person, the predecessor. Away from that, I want just to finish with one aspect that will prove that actually what people might be saying might not be true. That is my thought though. And this is Sifuna recently when traveling to Mumbai. Let's just look at this.
Was inside RAILA'S.
Maybe I mute and then play. All right. So, of course, looking at all those pictures and the sadness actually that was shared, then it clearly tells us that the narrative of a week earlier, you know, in Kenya, people normally start predicting your death even before your death. I've seen that a number of times. Yeah, I've seen that a number of times on the media. So in my view, I don't agree that actually he died earlier. I don't know, maybe you can type in your comment section to actually share your thought, but that is what I hold currently. So, of course, I'll a bit of mix some Gen Z stories here, but I don't think it was worth it for Gen Zs to feel this way. Or maybe I let them come on Live Saga TV. So bye-bye for now. Thank you so much for watching here. You can subscribe to the channel. We have another channel, Live Saga TV, where we do a lot of political analysis. But today I decided, because this is a morning day, actually I I commit my channels to this event, and not just here, but I'll also go to Live Saga TV and do something. Thank you for your likes, and thank you so much for your support. Bye bye.